Okay, so you know how at the end of the year, people tend to start kind of looking back and reflecting on how they've changed or what's happened to them. 2021 has been a huge year for so many reasons for so many of us. And as I have started to reflect, I have realized that I think 2021 is going to go down in my personal history as the year that I was radicalized. I have realized I've had some just absolutely amazing, like mind-blowing aha moments over the last, especially over like the last 6 months. And it has completely changed my view of education, my view of learning, my view of homeschooling, of what we parents are called to. And I thought I would talk about 3 of the biggest aha moments that I've had that I think have truly, help me make this incredible change. And as you're listening, there might be some of you who go, you know what? I think she's going in a direction that I don't really jive with anymore. That is okay. I wish you well going to 2022 rather, happy and healthy, and enjoy your homeschooling adventure. But if you find yourself nodding along and going, okay, yes, I see where she's going with this and I agree, then make sure you go to goodschooling.net and put your name in for our email list, because there's going to be something dropping in January that you are definitely going to want to learn more about. And that is the best way to make sure that you get that information. So, how have I been radicalized? Well, the first thought that has really captured me is the fact that education has become radically overcomplicated. Not just public school education either, although it is such a behemoth. You cannot turn that Titanic around. It is. I honestly feel like it's a lost cause. It would have to be razed to the ground and rebuilt entirely from the studs up in order to be something that resembles anything that makes sense for children. But I'm even talking about homeschooling. I feel like even the vast majority of homeschoolers have overcomplicated what education should be, what it has to be, what it needs to be. They feel like it has so many things that are so important. And it is the reason why so many families burn themselves out so badly, because they are cramming so much in, and they have such high expectations. And I'm not saying that we should have low expectations for our kids. That's not at all what it's about. But I feel like even though they come away from the public schools, they still often have kind of this, like, kind of in their peripheral vision. They're still kind of looking, well, what, I'm trying to figure out, what are we going to do this year? What are they? Well, okay. It's this background measurement, this background standard. And even if they're not necessarily doing that and looking specifically at what the public schools are doing, they are not continuing their own deschooling enough to truly get that mindset out of their heads. So when they go to homeschool their own kids, they're bringing that overcomplication with them, and they are making homeschooling just as much of a burden as public school education would have been, just in a different way. So that was kind of my first radicalizing thought, was the fact that education has just become so overcomplicated, both public school and in the homeschool realm. The second kind of aha moment that I had was the fact that the whole concept of learning through life, I think, is radically misunderstood. And I think a lot of parents kind of eschew that view. They kind of, go, oh, no, that's not for us, because they think it is a very boundaryless, routineless, guidanceless approach where kids are just free range all the time, frolicking, doing whatever the heck they want, even if what they're doing is not necessarily, beneficial to them, is not necessarily, even safe for them. And I know that what we would call like radical unschoolers, they very often do go in an approach or in a direction that's very much like that. And as much as I have always loved the unschooling approach, there has always been something about it that has just bugged me, and I could not figure out what it was. And I finally, over the last few months, kind of came to a place where I realized, oh, This was why I was never fully okay with the whole idea of unschooling. And it's because I believe that as parents, we are called to guide our children. They need guidance. They are not all wise. They are not all knowing. I mean, neither are we, but we are certainly further down the path than our children are, right? And there are some things that, as much as we might not want to admit, we are going to have to sit our kids down and teach them, whether they are interested or not. And I'm not talking so much about academics. There are a few academic things that, yes, I think we need to sit them down and say, hey, you gotta know this. You just gotta know it, okay? Let's look for the most fun way we can learn it. Let's look for the most hands-on or the most exciting way that we can do it, but you gotta know it, okay? But I'm not even so much talking about academics. Honestly, when I think about the kind of guidance our kids need, it comes back to more about faith. It's more about what we believe about the world, what we believe about the powers that are at play in our world right now, about how we should act, about behavior, about expectations, about so many things that a lot of times we just assume our kids are going to catch just by watching us or by conversation. And I'm starting to realize there may be some instances in which they do. And obviously, not every child is the same. But I think there are some things that are so important that we cannot leave it to chance that our kids are going to be interested enough to want to pursue them and ask us to help them pursue those things. And particularly as a Christian, and I know I don't talk a lot about my faith here at Good Schooling, and that is actually something that you're going to see changing a lot in 2022. But I feel as a Christian parent, we are called to lay out a path for our children and to explicitly, directly instruct them. And I feel like so many of us have kind of abdicated that responsibility to youth group and to church and, to the fact that like maybe a lot of the friends that we have that our kids get together with are also Christians or of the same faith, and we all kind of believe the same thing. And so, it's all going to trickle down. I don't think we can rely on that anymore. I think it is clear that our children need more direct, more explicit, more urgent instruction in these things. And so I've realized that as much as I love the concept of unschooling, and as much as I've even over the last year called myself an unschooler, because we really have taken some big steps in that direction, I found myself saying, it was almost like with an asterisk, well, we're like kind of unschoolers, And I've realized that I do believe there is a body of skills and concepts and knowledge that we do need to at some point just sit our kids down and discuss and talk about and teach. And that I know kind of sets me apart from what we typically consider, unschoolers. And then the third thought that I've had that has radically changed how I think about education and parenting and homeschooling and the whole bit. And this is going to sound like maybe I've gone a little bit off the rails, a little bit extreme, but I believe it with my whole heart. I believe that in order to save humanity, and I know that sounds a little big and epic and maybe a little extreme and off the rails, in order to save humanity, we must radically reimagine education. And for those of us who homeschool, even though we have taken this path, which for a lot of people is a radical reimagining of education, particularly people who can't imagine homeschooling, right? They see what we do and they go, oh my gosh, that's insane, or that's so, alternative, or that's so countercultural, or whatever. And it is those things. But I think even inside the homeschooling world, we as homeschoolers need to radically reimagine why we do what we do and how we do it. And all of these things, these three things I've just talked about, they have been changing my view not only of how I personally view education and homeschooling and how I choose to homeschool, but how I am choosing now to coach other people through their homeschooling experience. Up until now, I've always said, hey, I am all about helping you as the parent figure out what is the best way for your family. And I still do believe everyone has to homeschool their own way, right? I'm not saying everybody has to do this, and if you don't, you're a bad homeschooler. It is not about that, okay? But I do think we need to, all of us really do kind of need to have a sit down with ourselves, kind of a come to Jesus moment, and start thinking about, okay, how serious am I about this? How serious am I about what I see going around going on around us in the world, and how I want to make sure my child is prepared to go out into that and weather it and not be brought down by it, and not just that, but change it and affect it. And so all of these things have changed how I view how I'm going to help other homeschoolers from here on out. And so I'm making a huge shift here with Good Schooling that I am so incredibly excited about. And in January, I'm going to be dropping a completely new, I don't know what else to call it besides a course, but that sounds like really kind of overcomplicated. It's not a course. It is more kind of a whole new philosophy, a whole new methodology that I've created for homeschoolers who believe, like I do, that we need to change this generation in order to change the future of our country, in order to change the future, honestly, of humanity. I know some of you are thinking I'm crazy, and it's totally okay. I get it. But for those of you who are like, yes, things are nuts out there, we've got to figure out how to fix this, I am so excited for what I've got coming for you in January. Besides this new course, or whatever I'm going to call it, I got to figure out something else besides course. If you can think of a better word than course for something that is not really a course, drop it in the comments, because I need help figuring out what to call this thing. It's a whole new course. It's a whole new approach to my membership. It is a whole new approach to coaching, and it is going to be hyper-focused on helping parents come together with other like-minded parents, other parents who feel this same way, who feel this this pull about changing what's coming, about not being overtaken by the insanity that's going on in the world right now, and about preparing our kids to go out and make the world a better place and really change where our world, our culture, our society are headed. And so if that sounds at all intriguing to you, then please make sure that you get on my mailing list at goodschooling.net. You just go there, scroll to the bottom. There's a field there. You put your email address in. I know many of you are already on that emailing list. And if you are, you got an email from me at the beginning of the month that was very similar to this video. It had some of the same ideas. So if you're on that list and you want to go back and read that to get a little bit more information kind of about what I've been talking about, then definitely get in there and do that. But I'm super excited about where things are going. And, particularly those of you who are new to homeschooling, you might think that veteran homeschoolers, once we figure out a system, we just keep going with it and we're good. That's not how it works. We are constantly thinking through, why am I doing it this way? And why am I, what are my goals? And why am I homeschooling this way? And is this really the best way? And what do I really think about this? And it makes your own deschooling journey continue. It doesn't matter how long you've been homeschooling, you continue to deschool. And I feel like I unlocked this deschooling level over the last few months. I've leveled up, I unlocked something. And the little gold coins started sprinkling out all over me from, I finally found that mystery box in the middle of Mario, right? And it has been incredibly exciting to finally feel like, that is where I'm going with everything. That is what my heart has been for Good Schooling, and I couldn't figure out exactly where I was going. But if this sounds at all intriguing to you, I want you to be part of the conversation. I want you to be part of our community. So make sure that you get on that list. I will talk to you guys more about this exciting stuff that is coming in the next video and in the weeks to come. All right, I will talk to y'all later. Have a great day. Bye.